Hello, this is Elle Casey, and I'm answering some interview questions that were posed to me by Samantha, a book blogger, otherwise known as Valkyrie Fatality. And she asked me 21 questions, and normally I answer my interview questions in writing, but 21 questions, and the way that I generally answer them would be like a novella. So I've decided instead to do it on video. It'd be much faster for me and maybe more interesting for you. I don't know. I hope so. Anyway, let's just go ahead and get started. Question number 1. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Well, I've been writing books since January of 2012. That's when I launched my first title called Wrecked. And that was a YA action adventure novel. And since that time, I've published over 20 novels. And I first started in action adventure. Then I moved over to urban fantasy. Then I did a dystopian series. And then I did paranormal romance. I did some, I don't know, I kind of have dipped my toes into a lot of waters, but I've, this summer of 2013, been writing romance, mostly new adult romance. And it's when I wrote my first romance title that I hit the New York Times bestseller list and the USA Today bestseller list and top 11 Amazon bestseller list. I didn't quite get into the top 10. It was so close. But anyway, it was enough to get on the New York Times list, which was a big goal of mine. So I'm very happy. Very happy with the group of fans that I have following my work. I have great readers. And I have a husband. He's actually husband number 2 for me. And I have 3 children. And I live in southern France. I'm an American, but I moved here 3 years ago for a 1-year adventure and then just never left. So I also have 2 dogs, and we have 4 rats, domesticated pet rats. And I guess that's it. That's me in a nutshell. So question number 2, what do you do when you're not writing? Well, I spend a lot of time with my family, spend a lot of time with my friends. I just recently started horseback riding, which I really love, and I play tennis. Mostly the horseback riding and tennis things were for me to get back in shape because after writing and sitting on my butt for over 1.5 years, I got real heavy. So I'm trying to get back into good cardiovascular shape while also continuing to write. So horseback riding and tennis are the ways that I'm doing that. But we're heading into winter now, so maybe I'll get to do some skiing too. What inspired you to write your first book? I've mentioned this in other interviews, but I read an article about Amanda Hawking, and then I went to her website where she has a blog post detailing kind of how her life as a writer rolled out. And if you don't know her, I'll just tell you quickly that she was an independent writer and then got picked up by, I'm not sure if it was Simon & Schuster or Penguin, but one of the big 6 traditional publishers, and has since, I think, pretty much abandoned being an independent author, and now she's just traditionally published. And she made a lot of money, became very successful, has a lot of fans. And so I always thought I might write a book, and so I decided, well, with self-publishing in the Kindle, I could give it a shot. So that's what really inspired me. I think I've always wanted to do it, but just never wanted to go through the process of finding an agent and getting rejected 1,000,000 times. As an indie, the only one who can truly reject you is a reader, so I'm okay with that. So yeah, it worked out great for me. Number 4, why did you make the switch from young adult and new adult? Was it a hard decision? No, it wasn't a hard decision at all. Partly because YA titles, the ones that I write, are meant for older teens and adults. They're not meant for younger teens, and they're certainly not meant for middle grade readers because there's a lot of foul language and some sexual situations and violence. So new adult is basically the same exact market. It's the same people reading the book. So it was the same people. It was more, not the switch from YA to NA, that was a big deal. It was the switch out of fantasy and paranormal realms into romance, because those readers don't generally cross over. If you're a big fantasy fan, you generally don't read romance and vice versa. So I think Twilight is the one series that has caused people to cross over. And if it weren't for Twilight, I doubt I'd get anybody to cross over. But now a lot of people are at least willing to give it a shot. Number 5, are there messages in your books you want readers to grasp? No. Well, let me say this. There are messages in there, but they're not in there on purpose. And they're not there for me to teach anyone lessons, and they're not there so I can force readers to grasp things. I write to entertain. That is really my one and only goal, and I try to do it as well as I possibly can. I try to improve my writing with every book. However, that being said, I know sorry, my dog's choking in the background. I have this little poodle named Hercules who just out of the blue starts choking. I think a lot of little dogs have that problem, but he's really old. So now if he just decides to scratch his ear, he chokes. So anyway, sorry for that little background noise. Okay, I just lost track of what I was talking about. Let me look at the question again. Oh yeah. Okay, themes or messages in the books. I guess the messages in my books or themes center around things that have been important to me in my life. So that would be friendship, loyalty, honesty, being independent, being strong. Dog's choking again. Poor guy. So I don't know. The themes are absolutely there, and it's funny because sometimes readers pick up on things that I did not realize were in the books until they start talking about it in a review or in an online buddy read or something, and then I was like, hey, that really is in there. So I've always said that my books are very character driven. I start the story with a basic idea of a plot, but a very firm idea about who the characters are and their personal histories and their thought processes and how they look and everything. And I just let the characters write the story. So the themes come up out of the characters' interactions and the characters' decisions and motivations, which are things I don't feel like I create. I think they somehow spontaneously generate inside my brain as almost real people. So I know that sounds crazy, but it's really how it feels. Number 6, out of all the books you have written, which one is your favorite so far? That's really hard to say because I like all of my books for different reasons. I'm very partial to Shine Not Burn, my first romance, because it's the one that got me onto the New York Times bestseller list, which was a very big goal for me. So that one's very special. It's also the one that my fantasy readers have read and most have liked. So I feel like it's a good crossover book. You know, it'll bring people from other genres over. But War of the Face series with Jane Sparks, I really like her sassy, take no prisoners attitude. I really like a strong female heroine, so I really like War of the Face, and also Apocalypsis, Bryn, the main character, Bryn Mathis, for the same reasons. I just like kick-butt girls. I wrote a book called Desperate Measures, which I use the pen name Kat Lee. This is a more chick-lit kind of book than romance, but I really like that one because it's about 3 girlfriends who are really different people and would never normally be friends, but they just have this chance meeting over books and end up forming really strong friendships in a short period of time. And I really like that book, and I think any woman with girlfriends could really appreciate that book. So that one's kind of special for that reason. But really, I like all my books because the people that are the characters inside them feel very real to me. They're like a part of me, so it's kind of hard not to like them. Does that sound stuck up? No, I hope not, but that's the way it is. Number 7, what made you decide to publish so many books over the course of the year? What made me do it? I just love writing and getting reader reaction. I also do it now full-time as my job, so if I don't keep writing books, I don't keep making money to feed my family, so it's critically important that I continue to write. But I'm absolutely addicted to reader love, and so that's why I read all my reviews and I comment on my Amazon reviews, because I just, it's what keeps me writing. It's what gets me up at 7 o'clock in the morning to write another chapter and start another book when I'm finished, and, do all the things that I do to promote my work. Number 8, are there any other YA or NA authors that have caught your eye? Oh my gosh, there's a ton of them. I don't read traditionally published books that often anymore unless it's from my book club, and then it's generally literary fiction. Although I did recently in my book club read Wool by Hugh Howey, who is an independent author who became traditionally published, but he still does independent author stuff for his ebooks and some of his other books. I have my very good friend, Amanda McKeown, McKeon. She insists that I pronounce it the Irish way because she is an Irish girl. I would say McKeon in American English, but that makes her cringe. So it's Amanda McKeown. She writes in fantasy, YA fantasy like I do. I just love her writing. It is so Irish, and she melds in the Irish mythology and I don't know if it's mythology. I don't know if you could call it mythology, but their beliefs in the Fae into her story, and it's really good. I'm good friends also with Mimi Strong. She writes romance. Cassie Leo, she writes romance. Katu Martine, she also writes romance. Those are girls that I chat with regularly. They have great fans, a strong following. They write funny books or tear-jerking books, that kind of thing. I don't know. There's really too many for me to list, but I do have a page on my website where my readers have put in suggestions of books that they've liked. So if you like my books, you would also probably like those books. So that's a great reference if you're looking for something to read. But I will also tell you that I follow Esta's book blog. That's Aestas. And she is one of the most active bloggers I've ever seen. And she is constantly talking about different books. And I mean, I could give you also a list. There is a list on my website of great book bloggers who have read my work and other indie work and are very supportive. Valkyrie Fatality, Samantha, she's awesome. She's a fan, and I love reading her reviews. So, I mean, book bloggers are awesome. And what's great about them is they talk to each other and they support each other, which is really great, just like indies usually do. Number 9, do you have any advice for other writers? I could write an entire book over advice I could give other writers, and I do post some stuff on my blog. So if you're a writer and you're interested in my advice, you're more than welcome to go to my blog and check out all kinds of things that I've written there. You can also drop me an email. I'm happy to answer emails. Number 10, you're now a full-time writer. Huzzah! How does it feel to now have all this time devoted to writing? It's awesome. It's really great because it's all I want to be doing. So it takes some pressure off me because I was also working as a teacher at a university, and so that took 2, 3, 4 days of my week. So I had to pack in all my writing into the remaining days. So now I can take it easy and take a little time for myself. Hence the horseback riding and tennis. So I would say that it's awesome. I absolutely love it. Number 11, do you think if you had the chance you would have done things differently and remained a teacher? No. I like teaching. I love my students, but writing, there's nothing that compares to that. There's nothing that compares to a reader telling you that you're their favorite author, or this book made them cry, or, they laughed out loud and woke their husband up reading my work. There's nothing like that I'm aware of. I love it. Number 12, what were some of the challenges you faced, if any, when it came to getting your first book published? I really didn't have any challenges. And that's kind of when I felt like I was doing the right thing because there weren't any barricades in my way. Amazon makes it really, really easy for somebody to self-publish. I had an editor who I paid to edit the book. I had lots of beta readers, friends and family. I had a second editor come in, a third editor come in. These are people, the second and third people were people I knew. So it was really great. And then the initial reviews, there were some people who commented on point of view issues. I think, telling not showing in a couple places. So I did go back and do a second edition of the book and fix those issues. So really nothing stopped me from getting it up there. And then with just a few tweaks, I think I improved the book thanks to reader feedback. So yeah, that's just underscores the importance for me of reading reader reviews, because the reader reviews and readers help me be a better writer. Number 13, how do you react to a bad interview, if any, on your books? I think she said bad interview, but I think she must mean a bad review of my books. And I would have to say it depends on the bad review, because some bad reviews are, I saw the 5 stars, so I bought the book and I read it, and I really didn't connect with it. So, whatever. That's perfectly fine. I know that not everybody's going to connect with my book, just like somebody will tell me this bestseller was awesome and I read it and I think it stinks. It's just sometimes it's just a personal connection thing. When I read a review that says, I didn't read the book, I skimmed the first chapter and then gave up and I thought the whole thing sucked, and then I'm like, well, I can understand giving someone a bad review because you couldn't get past the first chapter. That's one thing. But to not read the book but then talk about how the whole book sucked, that's kind of frustrating for me. And I am a proponent of, as an independent author, doing what you feel is right with your work and with your books and with your interactions with your fans, because this industry is changing. And it used to be that authors did not interact with readers. It just wasn't done. It wasn't considered the thing to do. And it was also difficult because social media wasn't as prevalent and useful as it is these days. So I have this personal thing that I feel it's important to thank readers who visit my product page as a vendor on Amazon and purchase my product, which is my book, and take the time to leave a review. So I thank people for reviews. And I've had some other authors get very, very angry over this. And I've had some debates on some online forums with other authors. And then some readers who hang out in author forums have come on and said, if anyone ever thanked me for a review, I'd never read their work again. Well, I think that's funny. It may be a little ridiculous, but that's my opinion. And I voice my opinion on it. And it never fails that whenever I do that, I then get what we call sock puppet reviews, which are bad reviews, but left by people who don't read the book. And they're kind of easy to spot. You know, they can't say anything about the book in particular, or they say something about the book that isn't correct. So those don't bother me either, actually, because I think, you know, when you stand your ground about something you feel strongly about, that happens. You're going to get backlash. You're going to get people who feel the need to punish you for whatever reason. So that happens. I guess the only 1-star review that really gets my goat, really gets under my skin, is when somebody attacks me personally. And it's always a stranger. It's not like it's somebody who knows me and decides to go on Amazon and talk about how much they dislike me. It's somebody who either reads my book, reads a review about my book, or reads something I've posted on a forum or a blog post somewhere, and then decides they despise me to the point where they need to just spew anger. I'll never understand reviews like that. And I know that, you know, there's nothing I can do about reviews like that. So I should just let them go. But it's very difficult for any person, I think, to be attacked online and not have it affect them. So I just try to consider where the person's coming from. Obviously not a very happy place. And try not to let it bother me. And for the most part, I do okay with that. And as the months go on and, you know, I see this happening to my colleagues and I see this happening even worse to other people, I think to myself, you know, it just comes with the territory. Don't let it keep you from writing. But it does sometimes make it difficult to write, because when you put yourself out there in the public as an author, you also put yourself out there with a target on your chest for a certain group of people. And, you know, it's kind of depressing. So it's sometimes hard to be creative in that kind of atmosphere. But I push through. It's only been a couple times that I've had to take a few days off writing because of something somebody's very unkind that somebody said in a review. But I do appreciate reviews, good and bad. I think all reviews, whether they're good or bad. And I do appreciate people taking the time to help other readers like them find my book or avoid my book, as the case may be. Number 14, when you were younger, did you honestly see yourself being where you are now? If not, what did you want to be? When I was young, I don't think I knew what I wanted to be. I was really, you know, wishy-washy. I've been wishy-washy kind of most of my life because once I kind of conquered something and done well at it, I get bored with it because most jobs don't change. They just kind of stay the same all the time. And once you figure it all out, it becomes very routine. And I don't really like routine that way. But the nice thing about writing is it's never the same because I always have a new plot, new characters, a new scene, a new group of readers coming on board, new bloggers who I get to meet, and events I get to go to. So this is really the best case scenario for my life. I'm very happy. Now, before this, I was also a lawyer, which I loved, but I would say being a lawyer is very, very stressful compared to what I'm doing as a writer. I don't know if you can hear it, but I have these bells that go off in my town. I live in this tiny village in France. And these bells go off every hour, but at 7:05, there's 18 of them. So I'm going to keep talking while those 18 bells are going. Let's see. Number 15. This is going to be a long interview. This is why I didn't want to write it. What books and authors would you consider to be sort of mentors to you that helped you get your writing to where it is today? Stephen King is somebody who I really admire, and I haven't read his books in a lot of years, but as a kid, I remember devouring all of his books and laughing out loud at the humor, and just the book just flowed for me, and the characters felt real to me. And that's how people describe my books and reviews. And I've had people compare my writing to Stephen King's writing. So that's a huge compliment in my world. Huge compliment. I don't know if it's true for most people when they read my work, but it's true for some people, and I'll take it. I'll take that kind of compliment any day. I would say that mentors. I don't have any mentors. I have some fellow authors who are very supportive of me. I've mentioned them already. And I have, a lot of people I just like to talk to online because I value their opinions. But I would say that the one group of people who helps me improve my writing every day are the readers who bother to leave me reviews. Those people help me improve. Whether they're telling me something I've done really well or something that I missed or something that I did bad, all of it helps me. So I would have to say of all the things I've ever looked at, learned, or talked about, reader reviews, reader comments, reader conversations I've had are what have shaped my writing more than anything. 16. Are the names of the characters in your books just as important to you as the plot of the story? No, not really. Well, sometimes. Like Jane in War of the Fae and Clash of the Other Worlds is inspired by the song by Breaking Benjamin called Diary of Jane. I really wanted her name to be Jane, but not to offend anyone by the name of Jane, but Jane, Jane seemed very plain to me, as in plain Jane, as in Jane Doe. It's been kind of this it's been anonymized, that name, and I wanted it to be somewhat indicative that she might look plain, but she's actually quite different, which is why I spelled it Jayne. Other names, I just they pop into my head as I'm getting ready to sit down and write the opening chapter. I'm like, oh, shoot, she needs a name. And so I start running through names in my head. And if nothing rings a bell, I'll actually go online and put Irish girl names or Russian boy names or German boy names. And I will, something will ring a bell when I see it. It'll just feel right. Other times I use some of my readers' names. I have many reader names that have ended up in my books. They're readers who are fans, who write a lot of reviews for me, who come on my Facebook a lot. There are people who we may not be friends, but I feel close to them, and so I want to involve them in my work. I also have had some readers ask me to put their names or their children's names in my book, so I've also done that. And anyone who's a bad guy in one of my books is generally somebody who I don't like in real life. It's just my little revenge to use their name. It's very petty and immature, but yeah, I do that. Now, the people themselves don't look like or act like necessarily the people in real life. It's just that I use the name because I associate the name with bad things. So that's not always the case, but it is sometimes the case. Number 17, if you had the chance to be anything you want, whether it be a unicorn, a vampire, a piece of cheese, what would you be? Oh my God, I would not be a piece of cheese because somebody would eat me and I would stink all the time. A vampire, the Twilight books, I read vampire books before I read Twilight, and I always liked vampires. But when I read Twilight, I really liked vampires. And then I also watched Mick St. John in that series that only lasted like 1 or 2 seasons, maybe 3 seasons. And it was called Moonlight. Oh man, I really liked vampires after seeing that TV show. So that might be what I would pick. Yeah, or maybe an elf, somebody who's like really connected to the forest and Mother Nature and that kind of thing. I might go for that. But also in my War of the Fae and Clash of the Other World series, Jane is an elemental, which is somebody who's tied to the elements, and that was pretty cool. So that was cool, but I don't know. I kind of like the whole vampire thing. I know it's not cool anymore, but I still like it. My favorite fruit, banana, because you can put it in a shake. You can put it in an ice cream dish with ice cream. You can put chocolate on it. You can put peanut butter on it. It kind of is a very versatile fruit. And you can carry it in your purse and it won't get goo on anything. So I like the banana. Number 19, who would you choose to play you in the film of your life? Oh my God. I should have read that question ahead of time so I could think on it for a really long time. Should obviously be somebody gorgeous, sexy, yet playful, cute, incredibly intelligent, and creative and a great mom and a sexy wife and skinny, even though I'm not skinny. Okay, that's probably good. I don't know. Who fits that description? You pick it. You tell me. 20. Do you have any quirks that come along with your writing process, like, say, dancing around to the Vogues or Britney Spears or doing push-ups to get the blood flowing? That's a good question. Maybe I should try those things. No. I get up in the morning. My husband makes me tea and a hard-boiled egg because I'm that exciting. I sit in my bed and I start writing after I answer my Facebook and email messages. And if it's noisy in my house or there's tractors going by or stuff, I'll put headphones in and I'll listen to white noise because I cannot listen to any music at all because I'm a singer and I will start singing to everything and then I won't pay attention to what I'm writing and it won't make any sense. So I have to block out other noises with white noise. That's really lame. Maybe I should start dancing. I'll try that. 21. This is the last question. Thank you so much. Oh, maybe it's not a question. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me. I cannot wait to get my hands on all your upcoming work. Thanks so much again. Okay, it wasn't a question. That was easy. All right, so that's it. Thank you, Samantha, a.k.a. Valkyrie Fatality, for having me on your blog and for asking me all these great questions. I hope you enjoyed my answers. Now I got to figure out how to turn this camera off. Oh, my God, 26 minutes. That's way too much, Elle Casey. Bye. See you later.